welcome to the very first Good Day Talks. Happy 2/2/22. I just wanted to bring up a handful of things that have come up to me, an average middle class person in the United States of America today, which has become one of the most hated groups of all per the elites that control us. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about different things that I've seen in the news, different things that I'm sure everybody else has kind of witnessed as well, and I think we can change things if the people that we elect do what we actually want them to do. Now, starting off with one of the most hated phrases of all, which is called a conspiracy theory. Now, the issue with the conspiracy theory is that it's been used to damn anybody who comes out with an idea that potentially could happen against what the original agenda is or what the narrative has been presented to the people. The issue with that fact is that everybody deserves a right to speak. Everybody deserves the right to be heard. And we today don't want to listen to anybody that goes against the agenda. The cancel culture is unfortunately a true, real thing, and it needs to be stopped. There's no reason to not listen to every side of the story. Now, I'll give you a quick definition of the conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory, starting off with the first word, conspiracy, the definition of a conspiracy is a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. The definition of a theory is a supposition or a system of ideas intended to explain something, especially one based on general principles independent of the thing to be explained. Now, if you put it together, it's a system of ideas intended to explain a secret plan of a group by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. I ask everybody, how can you make a certain decision about it? Anything in question if you don't have both sides of any story. If you don't have the good, bad, or indifferent, you can't make an effective decision on what's to come. The issue is today's cancel culture destroys all of that. If you don't follow the narrative or the agenda that they have promised or have been put out in front of people, you're canceled. You're shut off the air. You're shut anywhere. You can't make a decision. That's the true statement. The elites that own the country don't want anybody to actually have a different voice. And I think it's everybody's right, per the First Amendment, that we need to have thoughts and express ideas that are different than what's actually going on present time. So one thing, I'm a little surprised that Americans will let their First Amendment or their first right to be just squandered by these companies and by the government. It absolutely amazes me. The companies, I can understand the definition, it's been explained that companies are privately owned companies, so they don't have to follow the Bill of Rights because they're not the United States. However, it's come to all of our attention that the government has been telling these private organizations to cancel such and such speech. That's not good. There's no reason for that. Moving on to one of my favorite things is these new mandates. The mandates are absolutely ridiculous. I won't get into too much of that at this time. Today I just want to spend a little bit of time talking about certain things, and then we'll go into further detail in future talks. So today you'll see, as of the past couple weeks, COVID face mask rules and COVID passes to end in England. England is still under a monarchy. The land of the free in America, we still have our face masks. And I know we've actually stopped a lot of the mandating the vaccines, which is still beyond me that we've even gotten that far, that we needed to mandate the vaccines for people. Healthy people shouldn't need to get something that they don't want in their body. It's a true statement. America should be different. Now, we've always heard about Canada being, and here in America especially, that the Canadians are the most friendly, happiest people. They'll do anything for you, even at their own harm. And we have Canadian truckers that have been protesting. They actually drove all the way to Ottawa in a big convoy of trucks. Lots and lots of thousands of trucks went all the way into Ottawa to protest and talk to Justin Trudeau. It's funny because he claims COVID, and so he needs to stay in shelter for such and such time, so he can't meet with the protesters that actually came to get rid of the mandates and all the vax passport. Moving on to the next thing, it's actually amazing some of the Canadian people have started to voice out their own opinions. Now, the link that I have in my description is for a much longer video and better quality, but this one here is quick, gets kind of to the point, and so I want to show you that real quick.
You are not working for Canada. You are working for your globalist partners. I wonder how much they're paying you to betray Canada. What do we do with traitors in Canada, Mr. Trudeau? We used to hang them for treason. And you're doing that very same thing to us now. We know what you're doing.
So, again, the Canadians are some of the nicest people that I've ever met myself, and have always been told in jokes and in any movie or TV show, the representation of Canada has always been the most polite people around. Moving on to the very next thing then, is Australia, which is kind of funny because Australia has had some of the craziest restrictions possible. They've been locking people away in the different COVID camps. My favorite part about this right here, this is on Reddit. So again, all the links are going to be in my post in the bottom. But my favorite is Australia takes their mask mandate seriously. Misleading title. That is some of the funniest stuff, and I'm curious to see if at the end of all of this, if I get a misinformation post on my YouTube channel or whatever the case may be. But however, the neat thing about Australia is that they've actually decided to let COVID rip. So here in America, we're still freaking out. We still have our mask mandates. We still are, for some reason, the president and everybody else is still telling us we need to get vaccinated, even though it seems like after the third booster, people are still getting sick from COVID. So I don't understand how that's a possibility. But moving on from there, I'm going to go into the Bill of Rights. So I'm only going to read two of them. There's a good book. It's on. You can get it on Amazon for about like $5-6, but it's the pocket-sized edition, U.S. Constitution, Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights, and the amendments. So the First Amendment reads as so: Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now, the funny thing about that is, as soon as COVID started, one of the first things that we actually banned was churches, which most people today are still starved for religion. It's a true statement. Religion has kind of disappeared, and people need something. A lot of people need something to be able to trust, something to be able to give them faith, something to be able to give them love and joy. They've completely annihilated that and trying to remove that from everything. Because the other issue is, if people can gather, they can talk. And if people can talk about certain things that have been disappointing them over the years, or certain things are against their rights or against their life, if they don't want people to get together to go after them. It's an elitist idea that the serfs, the people underneath, need to stay in their lane. It's an unfortunate truth that we're seeing today in America and all around the world. All around the world, everybody has the elitist mentality. I'm going to show you a quick video. This is going to show you right now the freedom of press. Press is not supposed to be a talking group for Congress. We're supposed to have a free press that does not allow for them to take over and just do whatever they want. And then also tell us how bad we are for not following what they're telling us to do. So here's another quick video. Actually, this is a little bit longer, about a minute. But this one here I think you'll like.
I am Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned
country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the community use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 I am Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest...
And as you see, this is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This actually is extremely dangerous to our democracy. The press shouldn't all have the same talking pieces. So, moving on though, the second Bill of Rights, which is something that's being infringed currently, in California especially, and I'll read it for you, is a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, this next article is actually pretty disappointing, but in San Jose, California, they have a new tax for gun owners. So every year they're going to need a new tax. Every year, every gun owner, legally registered gun owner, is going to have to pay a tax. And on top of that, they're also going to have to cover. They're going to also have to have insurance to cover any faults or any disasters, whatever the case may be. The issue is that this whole platform, this whole policy is supposed to restrict the gun violence or reduce the amount of gun violence that's out there. Now, if anybody's paying attention, which most of you are, gun violence happens from people who don't register their guns. All the registered gun owners don't go out shooting people. It's a true statement because it's a registered gun. They go right to prison. So it's just comical in the whole thing, but everybody needs to pay attention to the new laws that are going to continue to be passed. Right now, California, this is just in San Jose. Next, I'm sure it's going to be California as a whole. I live in Illinois, so I'm assuming that not far away from Illinois, California seems to be the first, and then it happens in Illinois. Democratic states. So, everybody please watch out for that. We need to be able to have that because the issue is that you can't just have the elites with their soldiers with their guns. We need to have an ability to defend ourselves. And if we continue with these terrible laws, we're going to remove that and then no one's going to have guns, and then we'll be just like Australia back before with the lockdowns when they started putting people in all the different concentration camps, essentially what they were. So now, people who have actually helped me through the way, different things that I've researched over the past few years, Alan Watts is a huge one. On YouTube, there's still a handful of playlists, even though it's funny when you go into when you go into this one here, the full lectures, because we're in America, there's a handful that you can't actually watch. Otherwise, a lot of them are still available. The Best of Alan Watts is great as well. He's a philosopher. He died years ago. I find that today, if you really want some knowledge, you can't really pay attention to too much of what's going on today. Books today, there's a handful of great writers, there's a handful of great stuff out there, and you'll see them, and I'll go over them in the next couple of talks. But for this one here, I just want you to see, Alan Watts is a great one. I recommend reading some of his literature. He was a Taoist, he was a Zen Buddhist. At 15, he actually decided to go against being a Catholic and Christian, decided to go for being a Zen Buddhist. So, who at 15 actually does that? It's crazy. But he had a great idea. he decided to go through with it, and has changed so many lives over the course of his lifetime, and even beyond, because now his stuff is still available. There's great lectures on there. Alan Watts does have a foundation where you could spend such and such amount of dollars and get a bunch of his talks and a bunch of his things. Otherwise, he does have great books that are available. I'll show you one now. This is another great book, Alan Watts, the book. This one here is actually about how on the taboo against knowing who you are. It's a fantastic, fantastic book to read. Next to that, on YouTube itself, there's still a handful of good things that haven't been censored, that haven't been taken off of the platform itself. Awaken with JP. JP Sears cracks me up. He's a fantastic comedian. I still need to see him live. But on top of that, he does satire, so he actually goes into what's currently going on and explains it in great detail. Beyond that, After School and Academy of Ideas. After School and Academy Ideas is actually put together by the same gentleman. They are fantastic. So Academy of After School is going to be, you'll see here the different whiteboard that they use. So they actually draw out the different speeches and different interviews that he's gone through. And they've been fantastic interviews out there. And having a visual representation of what they're talking about really does stick in a lot of people's minds. Academy of Ideas is another fantastic one where it goes over different philosophies, different philosophical speakers over the years, different books that he's read. It really is another great option for people to listen to. Great ideas out there, and so you need to just, if you take a look at these ones, I think if you spend a couple of days watching some of these videos, it will change a lot of your minds on a lot of the stuff that's going on currently. Next, then, you have G. Edward Griffin. G. Edward Griffin, if you look on my YouTube channel, which I changed to Good Day, but when I started putting it on there originally, it was jimbo.selfies. So jimbo.selfies was my Instagram post, and that's back when I was just very vain, I guess, and made a lot of pictures. It was jimbo.selfies, so I took pictures of myself and put them on Instagram. Then I started doing videos with working out, and which the videos are still available on my YouTube channel. If you YouTube search jimbo.selfies, it'll pop up right there. The name will say Good Day, but most of them were, because they were originally listed as jimbo.selfies, you'll see them under there. If you subscribe, I'd appreciate it a ton. If not, I'd love to see you anytime I make another talk. Underneath there, Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is a fantastic man. He's been able to speak his mind. He's on Fox News, which I know a lot of people hate Fox News. However, Fox News is like the only channel that's not speaking the same agenda as you saw that one video of the news broadcasters, which is just comical entirely. But he is the sworn enemy of censorship, and it's a true thing. He continues to go out every day. He has two different features. He has the Tucker Carlson Tonight, which is his nighttime show, and then he has the Tucker Carlson Today, which is interviews with different influential people and different people speaking their different minds. Firm believer of listening to every side of the story. I recommend everyone do the same, whether you want to hear it or not. People should still be heard, and that's a true statement. Underneath that, you got David Icke. David Icke is great, and I know he's one of the biggest conspiracy theorists out there. He's been around for a very, very long time, and the funny thing is that if you actually trace back his life and what he's talked about through all of his years, he's actually told everybody what's going to happen within the next X amount of time, and sure enough, it's kind of played out exactly to the way that he's been speaking. So, another great opportunity to talk about, and another great opportunity to sit and look at somebody who thinks differently, and may open your eyes to an idea that you didn't think too much before about until you saw what he had to say. So I would recommend listening to that. And then lastly, I want you to have a good day. Thank you again very much, and enjoy the rest of the day.